Hello and welcome to the Sendlio podcast. My name is Lewis.
My name is Brandon.
And today we have Ryan Pfleger from PayWhirl. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you for being here. Why don't you just give us a little bit about yourself? Tell us who you are, what your business does, and where you're coming from.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, my name is Ryan Pfleger, and I was born just north of Seattle, Washington. I grew up here and ended up going to school in Santa Barbara, California, where I went to UCSB originally and then transitioned into a film program at a school called the Brooks Institute in Santa Barbara. And, I eventually transitioned my major from film to digital media and ended up working on software projects, met Brandon along the way. And basically our business, PayWhirl, which is our main business, we actually have a suite of apps now, but our main business, PayWhirl, focuses on e-commerce tools. Mm-hmm. And our goal is basically to make subscriptions easier for merchants. So we focus on recurring billing and recurring payments specifically, and we integrate with a bunch of different e-commerce platforms and provide merchant tools that make it easy to manage subscriptions and bill customers on a recurring basis. So most of our software is all B2B, working with other businesses.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what do you do to prepare for the day? Like, how do you get your mind right? And how important is your mindset to your business?
So for me, it's simple. It's pretty much coffee. I proceed straight to the coffee pot. That's the first thing I do pretty much every day. We have two little kids and they're up early. So we, fend them off as long as possible and then straight to the coffee pot. And I usually try to take, 30 minutes in the morning and just kind of scan emails and, make sure that I at least know what's coming for the day. But yeah, coffee is the key. Not gonna lie about that.
You doing the Keurig or you back on a regular coffee pot?
Definitely not a Keurig. I've got just a drip machine currently, but I do have something special on order, which is back ordered. It's a new machine called a spin that actually spins the beans and uses centrifugal force to percolate the coffee. So pretty excited about that if it ever ships. It's been ordered for a couple months now, and
oh man. Just back ordered. Yeah.
I'm patiently waiting. So
oh goodness.
But pretty excited about that. That should definitely help my mornings. At least I hope so.
Oh man, I can understand that. Coffee for me is crucial. It's a lifestyle and it's just something that if I don't have it during the day, I kind of go nuts without it. So
yeah, I always shut off by about 11, 12, but it's a requirement for sure. And usually with mindset, it's important for sure. Being positive and enjoying what you do is obviously really important. And I'm lucky because I do enjoy what we do. We've been doing this for almost 8 years now in various aspects with different apps and things. And, I'm lucky. Got a great family and I get to work from home. I was actually doing that prior to the COVID situation. It's a good fit for me and we've got a great team. So, having people behind you that support you and you trust, and being able to build on that, having a good mindset across the board for the whole team is definitely, a key part of our business.
So let's stay on that for a second, because that's actually the next thing we wanted to go into. Company culture is such a big thing. How you work and interact with, your team is super important. What do you believe in as far as company culture? Is there like an overwhelming theme that you have? How do you like to interact? How do you like your personnel to feel about you? Why don't you give us a little bit of insight onto that?
Yeah, so our team is actually kind of interesting. We started this business and it was literally in a bedroom, grinding, and we've slowly added members over the past 8 years. So we have an actual team. Everybody that works on our team currently is a friend and has a good attitude. I actually shared a dorm suite at UCSB with our key support manager, Larry. So we've been friends since college and pretty much everybody, including our developers, we've met through other projects and just had a good relationship with. we really do use tools every day to keep the team together. We use Slack. It's probably our number one tool. And everybody uses Slack to communicate. We have, Giphy turned on in there, so it stays positive and light, and everybody, can laugh throughout the day. So attitude is kind of important for sure. And probably our biggest factor when it comes to the team.
Do you think that that concept of friendship, is it really crucial for making the business run better? Or do you think that it kind of, it can create some pain points? Because obviously friendships are so dynamic, so how do you balance that in the workplace?
Yeah, good question. It does have challenges. Sometimes, professionally, there has to be a bit of a wall up. But for the most part, because we're friends or have become friends even through, just working on the business, we really know each other, and we know, what our buttons are and each other's buttons are. Yeah. And there's been definitely, learning experiences along the way. I'm not going to lie. Like we've had ups and downs. And sometimes you tend to take things more personally, maybe because they're a friend, but at the end of the day, it's, for me, it's, even though it's a business, it's kind of friends first. And, one thing that contributes to this too, is that we've been bootstrapped since day one. So, we don't have constant pressure from a VC or other investor to really add an additional level of stress and management. Like we run this business ourselves, and we take a real team approach to it. So I feel like we're able to work through most issues that come up. And we have had some blowups and some things, but we usually just get on a call when that happens, and everybody syncs and rips the Band-Aid off, so to speak. Yeah. And we're able to work through issues like that.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess so the team's distributed. So what are there any sort of challenges with the distribution of the team, or do you feel like that's a better way to work than in an office? I know there's competing ideas around that.
Yeah, when we started, as we had an office in downtown Santa Barbara, and we were small then. We've had an office here in Seattle too for a little bit at times, but honestly, with all the tools that have come out in the last few years, it's easy to manage. You have tools like Slack. We use Intercom for the customer side of things, so that aggregates chat and email into one place. There are times when I feel like we should do more video calls. Like we just kind of rely on chat, and things can be a little bit removed when you do that. But it works really well for us. We've been doing it since, 2015, really? Or I guess, no, 2016-ish probably is when we made the full transition across. And it took a while to find the tools, right? When we were just using email and other, traditional communication methods, it wasn't as effective. Now that we have the right suite of apps to support it, it makes life a lot easier. Zoom, Slack, Intercom. We use a project tracking software called PayWhirl. That's it's awesome. We've used it since day one at the business. And I think getting people up to speed on those tools is a bit of a curve. But then once everybody's got it, it's just a set process. Everybody knows where they need to go, and then we do checkup meetings at least once a week. I do a development meeting on Wednesdays with our lead developer Dan at PayWhirl, and I communicate with Larry 4 times a day usually, who's the head of customer support, and he also has calls with other team members, and they're usually short and sweet. It's nice, we can screen share within Slack, so if we need to show something, it's not like it used to be. You can just pull up your screen and click a button, and you're showing whatever the issue is right there and then, which is, it's just not the challenge it used to be. I think, post-COVID, a lot of businesses are going to stay in this model. And I've heard that large companies are adopting it and allowing, people to stay remote, whereas that wouldn't have been an option a couple of years ago. So it's been interesting to see how COVID basically kind of forced it, so to speak, on businesses. And now it's being adopted widely. I think a lot of these SaaS applications that help teams, manage and manage their products and communicate are doing better than they've ever done before. And I don't see it slowing down. I think the market's going to grow for years to come.
Yeah. Not only did I mention like the cost of your bottom line go down significantly when you don't have to have a physical space and everybody can kind of be in their own.
Yeah, just that office building alone.
Yeah,
that's huge cost.
Yep.
Just to run that.
It felt weird. When we first started PayWhirl, we pitched to some VCs, and they kind of asked us about company culture and what the office was like. And even back then, we didn't have an office, and it felt a little taboo back then to even mention like, oh, we're distributed. But now it's widely accepted. VCs
you don't have to be ashamed.
Yeah. and there's no fear around it anymore. I feel like back in the day, you had to have an office and 100 employees in the same location to be considered to be effective,
legitimate.
But now they don't even look legitimate, and they don't even balk at that question anymore. So yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
So going back to the team itself, what do you think is more important in a team member, skills or attitude? I know you said attitude was really important earlier, but is skills something you can teach, or is that something you try to go for from the start?
I think you have to have an underlying skill set for sure. And we've worked through we've been lucky, I'll say, to start off. So we've been a bit lucky with our hires. Like, I mentioned that we have a lot of friends working here. It just so happens that a lot of the friends are pretty skilled at what they do. But there's been a few of our team members also that started from scratch. So I've kind of seen it both ways. You can teach to a point for sure, but you need to have a good foundation and a good base, I would say. I do think attitude trumps skill set, but you've got to have a mix of like at least 60-40.
Right.
Basically being digitally savvy nowadays is super important. And so it's not even so much that you have a skill set in like, programming or just being great with customers, sales. You have to be kind of digitally savvy. So if anything, that's kind of the base that I would say that we look for. Can you handle your own in 4 or 5 different applications like Slack and Intercom and email, and not get overwhelmed, right? And so that's kind of like the biggest hurdle, is just making sure that base is there. But we recently hired a developer who's in Poland, and he's incredibly talented. And it's nice when you quote unquote get lucky and you get something like that. Because we could have done more diligence for sure. It was a recommendation, as most of our employee hires have been just a recommendation from somebody. And so you kind of have to trust the people that are on your team to make those recommendations if you're going to go that route.
Sure.
And we've been lucky more than once. So we've got a really strong backbone on our team, and kind of people in each role that really can hold their own weight.
I mean, I know we're kind of dancing around a little bit, but when you think of your company and the things that you go through, what truly defines success for you as the owner of the company, or as the CEO, as well as what is defining success for a team? What are those kinds of things that really make it feel right? Sure,
yeah. So we have several key metrics that we watch to determine the company's success. And as long as they're going up and we're meeting our goals, that's pretty much the company side. But ultimately, success is everybody happy? Do people resent coming into work? Are they frustrated? We focus a lot on that. We implemented an unlimited vacation policy last year, just because we want to make sure everybody's getting the time off they need and keep the team right. Success can definitely be measured different ways. On the company side, you have your key performance indicators, your KPIs, and things like that. And we track all of that. But, ultimately, are the people you're helping happy and successful, right? And when you're able to provide a service like that makes your customers happy, then, you sort of get something out of that yourself. And so, first off, we are definitely focused on making customers happy. And we're lucky that we've got some good software, and usually we keep people pretty happy. So, I guess the underlying thing I'm saying here is that happiness is kind of the key to success in my eyes. Even on the business side, like, everybody's, friends and happy to come into work every day. But on the business side, are your customers happy? And if they're not, what can you do to change that? Right. There's a lot of times when a customer's being, challenging, and you want to be short, or, you have a, just like, you want to be short is a good way to put it. But you really have to go the extra mile and make sure that they're happy. And, if your customers are happy, then ultimately, I think you'll be happy as well, and find success. So yeah, that's a good way to summarize it. Happiness is success in my eyes.
I guess those customers who are frustrated too, those are generally the ones you can turn around to be the most vocal supporters.
We've had a lot of good results with that. If somebody leaves a negative review, we jump on it. And more often than not, we can flip it from a negative review to a positive review, because if they're passionate enough to speak out and are angry for some reason, then chances are they'll engage with you, and let you turn that around. And we've done that more than once. We've had a 1-star review come in or something like that. And we immediately, reach out, get a hold of them, and usually we can flip them to a 5-star review, which speaks to that whole thing about keeping your customers happy. And then we feel good, obviously, when that happens, because we know we were able to work through an issue that would have otherwise just driven maybe the customer mad, or led to lesser lifetime value for that customer. If they've got something underlying that they're just not speaking out about, or if they did speak out about and it's not addressed, then it's not gonna go well long term. So yeah, for sure, Brandon.
It's funny, Brandon and I were working on some projects together, and that's something that I really had to become accustomed to, was the idea that when you have any kind of engagement with customers, it's great, whether it's negative or positive, because it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity that you can do something, that you can bring somebody back into the fold, or you can create a long-standing relationship. So on that theme, right, challenges are always arising in the business. What keeps you motivated to keep rising to the challenge and going past it? Is there something that, if there's something that you keep as a goal oriented in your head, that you're like, when it gets hard, I focus on this and I push forward? Why don't you give me a little insight on that?
Yeah. So, it's hard to say that there's like a specific goal that, that really pushes me there. But, ultimately, to keep things moving, you have to stay positive. And so when stuff gets tough, a lot of times I'll take a walk. It's easy to stay in this office, and, you walk in at 8:30 and you look up and it's 5:30. But when something's challenging, sometimes you just have to take a walk, and change your mindset a little bit, clear the head. When you do that, or when I do that, I usually can come back, sit down, and be a lot more effective at whatever I was going to do previously. So, that 5-minute walkabout that I do from time to time definitely helps, keep things moving, and clear the head, for sure.
See, I thought you were going to say, when things get tough, I just think about the Seahawks winning.
Yeah, no, I mean, that helps too.
I'm a Dolphins fan, so I'm kind of stuck,
Yeah, I feel you. We have the Seattle Mariners up here too, if that makes you feel any better. So.
We haven't done much since the perfect season in '72, which is like our claim to fame,
Yeah, had a couple good prospects in there for quarterback too, Tannehill and all that, just didn't work out.
It's painful.
Ebbs and flows. It's all cycles. It'll come back.
So where are you headed over the next 5 to 10 years? What do you see as the future for PayWhirl, for the other apps you're running? And how do you think that new technologies are going to affect your industry?
Yeah, good question. So the e-commerce industry has grown double digits for, I think, 15 years now, maybe even 20 years. And, I don't see it slowing. The market is massive. So there's all sorts of niches that you can get into. And we have several, apps. We do recurring payments. We have a loyalty app. And as you know, we just acquired an upsell app. So we're focused on e-commerce. And I think over the next, decade even, that market's going to continue to grow. There's going to be more and more merchants that onboard into different ecosystems. we work a lot on Shopify and BigCommerce, which are, major platforms that help people host their websites. But, there's new platforms coming up all the time, including social platforms. There's some really cool stuff coming out where basically it's formats like this that are live for your store, where you have video, and there's overlay tools that are coming to help with things like subscriptions and closing sales in live video and in Zoom and other platforms. So we're always kind of looking around to see what platforms would be good to integrate with. That's one of the things we've done pretty well at PayWhirl over the years, is we've always selected really great partners, larger ecosystems that have customers that need, or businesses that need something specifically, right? And I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon. There are some big things coming for the payment space, like cryptocurrencies had a year.
Yeah.
And we've been watching that closely since 2017, 2016. I think even prior to that, we actually technically had support for Bitcoin like a long time ago through Stripe. And so we know that that's coming, but I don't think the tools are there yet. As they say, the pioneers get slaughtered and the settlers get the gold, so to speak. So we don't want to be too early to market there, but we're keeping an eye on it, because I think that will change the landscape of transaction fees. As some of this layer 2 crypto stuff comes down the line, where you can get truly free processing or fees. We're gonna have to look hard at that and how we stay relevant, because a lot of our billing models are based on a percentage of the transaction. And so like we have a free plan, you can sign up for free, but because of that, we take a percentage of the transaction when you're on a free plan. And so with crypto coming, we're gonna have to look closely at that and see how we can adapt. And I think that the tools are progressing. So I don't anticipate it as some monumental thing that will change the landscape of our business. But if we're not careful, we definitely could lose market share to new tools that come out. So like, as I said, we're always looking for platforms that we can build on and expand from. And I think as long as we do that, we'll be, set up for success long term.
Yeah, I guess, we've seen over the past year a lot changed with COVID, obviously. And I know that the Shopify ecosystem has seen a great deal of change as well, with, more businesses moving online. You see a huge suite of apps come out over the past year for curbside pickup and things like that. How do you see the changes that have been implemented due to the pandemic? How do you see those going into the future? Do you think any of them will be sticky and we'll be talking about, curbside pickup here in 5 years? Or do you think a lot of this, once people go back to business as usual, will just sort of like roll back to how it was 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think it's here to stay. I had dinner with a close friend and recently, and he was like, there's one thing I'm not giving up after COVID, and it's Instacart. Like,
right.
It's just so much better than going to the grocery store and going down every aisle 8 times and, all of that, pain that you do to go to the grocery store, which is funny because, even a year ago, it seemed like a total luxury, a novelty type product. And we used it a little bit prior, but now we rely on it. And I think, because of the pandemic, a lot of people have been forced into using these tools, but kind of like in a good way. Force maybe isn't the right word.
But now they're used to it.
Yeah. So everybody's kind of, used to it now and realizing that this technology is here and it can be utilized going forward. I think Google just extended, they were talking about forcing people to go back to work for 2022, but I think that at least a friend of mine who works for them, said that they are allowing them to choose now because the tools are in place. Everybody's had to adopt them. They're now in place. And so companies are invested in these tools. And, even on the consumer side, I'm invested in Instacart now. I love it. I don't have to go to the grocery store. It's here within 2 hours. And I don't think that these tools are going to get worse, right? They're just going to keep getting better. So I think a lot of these changes that we've experienced are going to be here for the long term. And we're lucky because we've kind of, we were ahead of the curve And so we saw a huge influx last year, and even through this year. We had 8 out of 12 months last year were all-time highs for us, which, usually it's about, with our growth, it's 4 to 6 months, we do all-time highs, but it was like every single month. And with the launch of our new Shopify app that leverages a bunch of internal technology that they have to keep checkouts, more native and things like that, our growth has been really explosive in the last year. And I just don't, I don't see it wanting. I think that it'll continue to pump. People may back off, when everybody's vaccinated and you can go out again and everything's open. I think there might be a period where people sort of are, they're pent up, and so they'll go out and experience that. But I don't foresee a lot of businesses just cutting off the digital tools they've implemented. At least the ones that are helpful, that are truly helpful, that are adding value to their business, which, hopefully we're in that category.
What a world to live into. We're going to go out and have an exciting experience of buying our own mayonnaise at the grocery store.
Yeah, going to a restaurant. I mean, it's bizarre. We're slowly opening up here, which is nice. And I think Georgia's a bit ahead of us. And how's it in Vermont, Brandon?
I don't think Vermont's ever going to open up. Everything is really, really locked down. They just opened up. People who have been fully vaccinated and have both doses can now come to the state without quarantining for 2 weeks.
Since when?
Tuesday.
Yeah, Georgia's weird. Georgia is like, we've been open for business.
Yeah, never stopped.
Not really. I mean, obviously, at the beginning of COVID, there was this definitely curve, but then after a while, I think people just became acclimated to the situation, or some just kind of threw up their hands. They're like, forget it. I'm just doing what I'm going to do. And, people are very, very free about that kind of stuff, here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird. What's weird to me, though, is that how, COVID, I mean, obviously, the negative aspect of it is, of course, the virus itself and the effects on the human body and people, having, deaths and all that. But it's been such a great accelerator for, e-commerce and online businesses and all these different platforms. It's amazing how it's like, before COVID, when you were strategizing, you're looking more like, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, maybe. This thing came in and it was like a matter of months, and people just had to transition so fast that, it's exactly what you're saying. It's just like the influx of clients and people and consumers. It's awesome.
Yeah. Excuse me. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, so, we're almost at the end, I guess. So really, I guess the last thing that we like to ask is, give us, 3 things that you want to, tell us about yourself. It doesn't have to be business related. It can be anything, just 3 items of whatever. Go for it.
Yeah.
Go,
So, I could give you my favorite color.
Okay.
But that's not that important.
I mean, it might be.
Well, now I want to know what it is.
You're going to have to wonder. I tend to like blues and greens. Those are my favorite. A little orange for flash sometimes.
Okay.
You could probably tell by the color scheme of our website, actually.
Yeah.
Which colors are my favorite. One thing I'll say just in closing is that, it has been a trying time for a lot of people. I think we're near the end of it. As much as we need to stay, focused on our businesses and whatnot, it's also important to take a bit of a digital detox from time to time. And something I've been trying to implement in the evenings a little bit is really, shutting off the device and disconnecting, especially now because we're all working from home. So, that's something that I'm trying to do personally. And I think it's awesome when you can just disconnect a little bit. So, as we get over the hump here with the COVID thing, I'd recommend that people, try that. They even have these lock boxes you can put your phones in if you have issues and can't put it down, where you lock your phone in a box, and unless 2 people provide keys. You can't get into it.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's just, you lock it in the box and then cross your fingers you don't have an emergency.
Yeah, that's actually what I need is the lockbox. Otherwise, I'm pretty glued to it. But I'd say go Hawks too. Love the Seahawks. Excited about our new hockey team here in Seattle. We've got the Seattle Kraken starting later this year.
That's right.
Be well. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got.
Awesome.
Right.
Well, thanks again, Ryan, for joining us today. How can people find more about PayWhirl? You want to drop some URLs out there for some folks?
Yeah, it's app.paywhirl.com for PayWhirl. We also have Glow Loyalty, which is glowloyalty.com, and Upsell Wizard, which is upsellwizard.com. So feel free to take a look at any of those. They're also listed in the Shopify App Store, the BigCommerce App Store, and other places. So we'd love to help if you have any needs for recurring payments or any of those other things, loyalty or upselling your customers.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, we appreciate all our listeners for tuning in. You can find all of our episodes at sendlio.com or wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.